Well, Arabile, according to information that we received yesterday, some of the people that were in that bus are believed to not have possessed, their documentation, which makes it a great challenge for the provincial government to be able to, know who they are and who their next of kin is. And as I've said earlier on, they mentioned that they will rely on survivors that they were traveling with so that they can assist them with the process. And I mentioned that it's going to be quite a challenging one, understanding that, some of those survivors that the Premier got to speak to yesterday mentioned that they only know about one or two people in the bus, meaning that, it might be something that takes longer than we actually anticipate. But she has called on, families that know that their loved ones were in that bus that was traveling from Gqeberha to Zimbabwe and Malawi to come to the nearest hospitals here in Limpopo, telling them that if they do not do that, they might possibly find, their loved ones being buried as paupers. And that is, of course, something that, people wouldn't want to see. But we do know that, there are conversations right now between the South African government, the Malawian government and Zimbabwe to try and, find next of kins of these people so that the identification process begins. So this thing happened on Sunday afternoon. Very few people came forward to go to these hospitals, to identify their loved ones, especially the survivors. They were able to reach out to their loved ones because they made calls. But the deceased, we haven't heard, someone that has come forward to actually say, my sister was there, my brother was there, and the body we have found, their remains. So that is the process that is expected to happen today. But I do know that my colleague Skara is on the other side, at the scene where we saw really chilling scenes there, Arabile, of, the belongings of those people, 42 people that perished, in that scene. Skara, what's happening on your end?
Medication and medicines are being, taken out of our country to another country, and how those medicines are across the border. It talks to the fact that there could be the borders are porous, because how are they not detected when they cross the border? I was speaking to her just now, and she was telling me that she's quite concerned because this has an impact, negative impact on our people here, the public, those who are seeking medication. They go to public facilities and they don't get medication, and she expressed grave concern on that.
Furthermore, Cabinet expressed its disappointment and disquiet about the buckets of antiretroviral drugs and other prescription medications, condoms, I'm sure they can be fine, which were discovered among the wreckage of the bus with no documentation for medical cargo. A full-scale investigation has been launched, and law enforcement agencies are also treating this accident as a potential case of pharmaceutical smuggling. The theft of prescription medicine, in particular ARVs, also undermines the fight against an HIV-free region, because people who are using those medications, because they are not continuous, they are going to develop resistance, and thus creating a problem for the fight against ARV. And South Africa, as the largest, as a country facing the largest HIV pandemic, are going to be worst hit by that. So as South Africans, we need to stand strongly against those who steal our medication. Cabinet calls on all foreign nationals to be well-mannered guests in South Africa, and reminds everyone that it took a lot of effort to stop the recent unsavory treatment meted out against foreign nationals at local clinics. Unfortunately, the proof that confirms brazen theft of medicines from the government clinics do not assist efforts to restore conditions for foreign nationals to access public health care in South Africa.
Last week, I've made a video about Zimbabweans taking South Africans' medication to Zimbabwe and selling it to fellow Zimbabweans. I was labeled a liar, I was labeled a xenophobic, I was labeled all sort of names. But just this weekend, the past weekend that we are from, we also the bus that was traveling from South Africa to Zimbabwe, carrying Malawians and Zimbabweans with our medications inside. Lots of medications were traveling from South Africa to Zimbabwe. So are you still saying I'm lying even today? You got exposed. I'm not saying I'm rejoicing, but the accident exposed you guys. So where are my lies? Like, where are those who were saying I'm lying? Where are those who were labeling me all sort of names? At the end of the day, I was telling the truth. You guys you are taking our medications to Zimbabwe. You are overburdening our health system. Like, the bus was carrying overload passengers. The bus is supposed to carry 65 passengers, but you guys were 91, including your luggages. Guys, lady boni the bag, lady boni the tlhare go Zimbabwe. Did you see it? So are you still saying I'm a liar? Are you still saying I'm xenophobic? No, I'm not xenophobic. I was telling you guys the truth. You are overburdening our health system. Even the Premier of Limpopo, Dr. Popira Matuba, mentioned this. So the 49 that is injured, where it's supposed to go? Who's supposed to pay for the medical bills? It's us, South Africans. Our taxes. At the end of the day, accidents and accident. We can't deny you health services, but you are burdening us. Where is Mnangagwa? He's the one who's supposed to be paying all the expenses, medical expenses, but he's quiet. He's not saying anything. Just recently, you were calling us a banana republic.
Good morning to you, Zola, and to our viewers. We're just a few kilometers from where you are in Makado. We are coming to you live from the scene of the accident. It just happened a few meters downstream from where I am. Unfortunately, to our viewers, we cannot go there because there is little cell phone signal. So we opted to be here a few meters from where it occurred. But this morning, we can confirm that 2 investigations are going on here in Makado. One by the Makado police who are investigating a case of culpable homicide, and the second one, which I would say is one of the most important investigations, Zola, and to you, Arabile, is that from the Transport Department. Now, they, according to the Minister of Transport, Barbara Creasy, told us yesterday when they visited the scene, which is a few meters away from you, they told us that they are very concerned that how could this bus, which had at least 91 people on board, which is 31 people over the limit that it should have, how could it have traveled from Tebega, went through Free State, past Gauteng, and ultimately made it to Limpopo without it being stopped by traffic officials and checked? And actually, traffic officials noting that the bus was overloaded. So that's an investigation which will be undertaken by the Ministry of Transport. The Transport Minister confirming to us yesterday. Another concern that she had when they're investigating the scene was that 3 of the drivers who were on board that bus when it left Tebega are amongst the 42 who passed on. That is a serious concern again from the department. The road has been cleared. Investigators were on the scene from the RTMC yesterday. They've since left the scene and opened the road. But let's take a listen to what Barbara Creasy told us yesterday regarding that investigation.
You would understand that the investigation into this accident is made more difficult by the fact that there were 3 drivers on this bus, and unfortunately all 3 did not survive the accident. So this makes it, of course, the investigations even more difficult because we're not able to talk with the drivers about what actually occurred at the time of the accident.
Tough questions need to be asked, Arabile, and so far there are no answers. The Transport Ministry, along with Popi Ramathuba, who's the Premier of Limpopo, have now set up a command center in the Bembe region. We're yet to visit that command center. That's where our focus will be today, part of that investigation, Arabile. But tough questions have to be asked, and unfortunately, tough answers will have to be given by the traffic officials, who were told that at least 5 times this bus was stopped. So why wasn't it stopped? And this things picked up by these officials when they stopped that bus.
Yeah, very important sort of set of data points that needs to be outlined when it comes to all of this. Skara, as well as Zola, thank you so much for giving us a sense of understanding of proceedings here in and around Limpopo. We'll try and give you a little bit more of the story.
Apparently, they found boxes and boxes of ARVs in the bus. So this is very weird. The bus is now under investigation. IOL News reports authorities have launched a full-scale investigation after boxes of ARVs, drugs, and other prescription medications were discovered amongst the wreckage of the cross-border bus that crashed on the N1 near Makado, unaliving at least 42 people. The long-distance bus, which was traveling from Gqeberha in the Eastern Cape to Harare, Zimbabwe, veered off the road and overturned late Tuesday night, leaving bodies scattered across the crash site and dozens injured. Emergency teams described the scene as horrific, with rescue operations lasting throughout the night. This is unusual, but we've known this. We've known this. It has been happening. We've known that there are people who pretend to be sick, go to clinics, collect ARVs, and go sell them across the border. And Zimbabweans, everybody has been pointing out to Zimbabweans, everybody knows about this. So there might be some huge syndicate here, because if they found just some random box on some random bus, imagine cargo that's carrying other things that they think maybe it's just cars or lemons or fruits or whatever, and only to discover if you actually search those trucks or buses or whatever, you might find more ARVs. So, man, they need to really investigate, not just this bus, many buses and many trucks that are going outside the border, basically.
Indeed, it has not been an easy task, given the challenges that you have already explained. But what we can update the people of this country is that up to so far, 34 human remains have now been identified. That is the latest that we can give you. What we have done as the provincial government, because we understood the complexity, we have been able to take the pictures of all the remains of the deceased, and they are there in our album in Chirizini Hospital, where we made a clarion call for families to come, and based on those pictures, if they are able to identify, because the positive thing here is that the bodies have been, or the human remains have been preserved. They have not been severely damaged as compared to other incidents where, unfortunately, you can't even identify them with the naked eye. Regarding these ones, we can identify them using our naked eyes. So 34 have been. The 9 that is remaining, the challenge that we are having here is that the family members have indicated to us that some of them do not have, actually the 9 of them do not have the documentation to can come to the country. So we are going to meet each other halfway, taking that album to the border gate, where both the authorities of Limpopo and Zimbabwe will have to look into with those families on the other side. Once they can be able to identify them on the picture, then we will expect the Zimbabwean authorities to assist the relatives to be able to find way in a legal way to get to the province. So on Monday there will be the next step, which will be the formal viewing of the bodies, because even though you would have identified using the pictures, there must be that process of formal viewing. We must also have another step where we will be starting through our victim identification unit, where you are going to be taking the fingerprints. So from the fingerprints that we are taking as South African of the whole 43, we will be able to now give the data to both the Malawians and Zimbabwean counterparts, who will run through their own systems and be able to now verify.
We've already started with the work of investigating, and they've reassured us that within the next 48 hours they will be giving us preliminary report. However, by looking at and receiving the reports that we have, we cannot shy away from the fact that there are some areas which we think could have resulted into this road accident. The fact that the bus was traveling from PE up towards Harare, and in this area, if you calculate how many kilometers from Port Elizabeth to where we are now, you can't rule out a fatigue. You can't rule it out. Even probably maybe if you were two drivers, you were exchanging, but you can't rule out the fatigue. But also, when we look at the numbers of the deceased, because it's confirmed for now that it's the preliminary, we don't know what could have happened down there. We don't know what will happen when we strip off the bus completely. But for now, when we look at the disease, it's 42, 40 of which they died during the impact, and 2, unfortunately, it's including a 10-month-old baby demised in the hospital, where we airlifted her because the baby was critical, was airlifted, what we refer to as priority 1 patients. Now, we then, when you look at that 42, you want to also look at the numbers of those that have survived, and you look at the total number of the priority 1. If we subtract the 2, you are left with 6 priority patients, 1. So those are the ones that are in serious critical conditions who requires our prayers, because either way, if they can shift to priority 4 or they can move to priority 2, it's either way. So that's why they need our prayers. The doctors are doing their best. We also have got 31 that is priority 2. Those are mild to severely injured. But then you also have got the remaining 12 being a priority 3. So when you add that total number, it gives you 49. And then you add the disease 42, it gives you 91. So logic and common sense will dictate to you, meaning this bus was overloaded. That we are waiting for RTMC report, but I can tell you, adding this number, we were overloaded. The bus owner, the preliminary report that he has given us, it's saying there were 69 that boarded the bus. So we don't know what could have happened, which that is where I'm saying more investigation by the South African Police Services and also the Road Traffic Management Corporation is still needed to do that.
Cabinet has called on foreign nationals to be respectful and well-mannered guests. The call follows the discovery of antiretroviral medication at the scene of deadly bus crash. The bus, which was traveling from the Eastern Cape to Zimbabwe, was carrying Zimbabwean and Malawian nationals when it veered off the N1 highway in Limpopo, killing 42 people. Among the wreckage, authorities found a box containing ARV medication and other prescription drugs. A full-scale investigation has since been launched to determine the circumstances surrounding the apparent smuggling of essential medication. Speaking at the media briefing in Pretoria today, Minister in the Presidency Kombuto Ntabeni described the matter as deeply concerning.
Now, South African authorities have confirmed that the DNC bus that had an accident in Makhado was actually overloaded and that the bus driver was overspeeding.
Barbara Kwesi has confirmed that speeding and overloading caused the Limpopo bus crash.
The bus was carrying 91 passengers, but it's only authorized to carry 60, meaning 31 extra people were on board. Out of those 91, 42 people died. Just like that, it's one of Limpopo's deadliest crashes this year. 18 women, 18 men, and 7 kids among them, even a 10-month-old baby who made it out alive at first but later passed away in hospital. Another 49 people were injured, 31 seriously hurt, 6 still in critical condition. One child did also to be lifted to the hospital. It's actually devastating. It all happened on Sunday evening, October 12th, on the N1 highway near Makado, formerly Louis Richard. That's just about 55 miles from the Zimbabwean border. The bus was coming all the way from Port Elizabeth, heading to Harare and probably then Malawi. But before it could even cross the border, it went off the road straight down a steep mountain embankment and overturned completely. The rescue team spent the whole night pulling bodies from the wreckage. The N1 had to stay closed the entire Monday morning. And trust me, this isn't the first time something like this has happened at this same spot. Last year, there was also a crash at the same place that killed 19 people. President Cyril Ramaphosa called it a tragedy for South Africa and our sister states of Zimbabwe and Malawi. And back home in Zimbabwe, the Zimbabwean government has already started arranging state-assisted funerals and repatriating the bodies. Thousands of Zimbabweans take these same buses every year trying to get home or to go to South Africa to find work, and too many never make it back. South Africa's roads are some of the most dangerous in the world. Thousands do die each and every year. So right now the question is, do you think South Africa should start cracking down harder on these cross-border buses?
This is a cough mixture called Bronclear. It's manufactured by a company called Adcock Ingram, and it contains a dangerous drug that's called codeine. For those of you that are hip-hop heads, you've heard hip-hop artists like Lil Wayne talking about codeine, and you've seen them taking cough mixture that contains codeine and putting it into their whiskey or into their drinks in order to get high. Now, Zimbabweans, being students of STEM, they understand that there is codeine in here, and so they've been importing this product, buying it from Adcock Ingram, buying it from wholesalers in South Africa, and smuggling it into Zimbabwe in order to give it to Zimbabwean youth who are mixing it with their drink or taking it straight in order to get high. It's not true that this product is being taken from public hospitals in South Africa and being taken to Zimbabwe, because public hospitals do not sell this product and they have generic brands that do not contain codeine.
Just watch, don't sleep down there. Let me call you next time.
Well, authorities are still trying to piece together how exactly last night's tragedy on the N1 near Makado in Limpopo unfolded. The bus crash claimed the lives of at least 42 people, including 7 children. Reports indicate that the long-distance bus was traveling along a steep mountain pass when it lost control and plunged down an embankment. The vehicle landed on its roof, trapping many passengers under the wreckage. Emergency teams rushed 49 injured people to several hospitals across the province. This bus was traveling from Gqeberha to Harare in Zimbabwe at the time. Transport Minister Barbara Creasy visited the crash site, and she confirmed the bus carrying Zimbabwean and Malawian nationals was overloaded.
This bus is certified to carry 60 people, but those who were rescued, both those who were alive and those who had passed on, total 91. The accident investigators are still on site. At the moment, you would understand that we are still in the recovery stage and in the identification stage. So it's too early to talk about issues that pertain to repatriation.
A horrific bus crash that resulted in the loss of 43 lives has exposed a possible case of pharmaceutical smuggling. Although authorities are probing what caused the 61-seater bus, allegedly carrying over 90 Malawian and Zimbabwean passengers, to crash, they are also investigating the discovery of ARVs, another prescription medication which had no documentation for medical cargo. Pharmaceutical smuggling entails the illegal importation or exportation of medication as well as unlawful transportation of it across borders.
A full-scale investigation has been launched and law enforcement agencies are also treating this accident as a potential case of pharmaceutical smuggling. The theft of prescription medicine, in particular ARVs, also undermines the fight against an HIV-free region, because people who are using those medications, because they are not continuous, they are going to develop resistance and thus creating a problem for the fight against ARV. Cabinet calls on all foreign nationals to be well-mannered guests in South Africa and reminds everyone that it took a lot of effort to stop the recent unsavory treatment meted out against foreign nationals at local clinics. Unfortunately, the proof that confirms brazen theft of medicines from the government clinics do not assist efforts to restore conditions for foreign nationals to access public health care in South Africa.
Javeni added that government will assist in the repatriation of the bodies of the victims.
The province is quite capable and they do what is necessary. The remains are with us. So we must do what is required in terms of South African law to make sure that everybody is confirmed. Of course, we must work with both the governments of Zimbabwe and Malawi to confirm the identity of the people, and their families will have to be involved as well. And then we are treating the ones who are injured in Limpopo and will then release them to go home.
On issues around the G20 summit, which is over a month away, Njaveni says it's all systems go. She indicated that the president recently conducted a site inspection of the venue to assess its readiness. She would not be drawn into commenting on the 153 million shortfall needed to host the summit. Natasha Piri, SABC News, Pretoria.
Welcome back to Gist-Line. So the tragic Limpopo bus crash that's happened on October 12 has left South Africans heartbroken and angry, and the incident that killed about 43 people, it now exposed a very deep problem that goes far beyond bad roads. When rescue teams arrived at the scene, we were told that they found the ARVs, Bronclair bottles and other hospital medicines scattered all over the area. And these drugs are normally supplied to South African hospitals to help patients. But seeing them on a crashed bus heading towards Zimbabwe, it really shocked everyone. Then it now became clear that this was not an ordinary trip, that the bus was being used to smuggle stolen medicine out of South Africa. And the authorities believe that the medicines were taken from public hospitals and clinics, and they were secretly moved across borders to countries like Zimbabwe and Malawi. And some of the drugs, such as Bronclair, are often misused as street drugs, while other drugs like the ARVs, they are sold illegally for profit. Now, investigators, they say that this has been going on for a while, with people working together in what seems like a big organized group that steals from hospitals and they move the drugs through buses and trucks. So sadly, many of these operations are said to involve undocumented foreigners that take advantage of weak border controls to make money from South Africa's public health system. So instead of following the law, they use these illegal routes to steal what should be helping sick South Africans. And many South African citizens, they're not speaking out, saying that this tragedy is proof that the government must tighten its borders and also watch their hospital supplies more closely. So South Africans, they are tired of seeing their resources being stolen, while hospitals complain about shortages, because people are now asking tough questions that how can hospital medicines disappear in such large amounts without anyone noticing? Don't they have people that are watching the storerooms? And why are undocumented foreigners allowed to move so freely with stolen goods? And this crash has opened the eyes of many who now see how corruption, poor border control, and illegal migration are putting the country at risk. Now, with the loss of lives and everything, we all know, they say that it's painful, which you all know. But South Africans, they hope that this tragedy will finally push the government to take stronger action not just by fixing roads, but they should also crack down on illegal smugglers and protecting the country's healthcare system from the people who exploit it. Well, what do you think about this? Because a lot of people are saying South Africans should be sympathizing with lives that were lost instead of talking about these ARVs. So do you think this is legit? Their complaint is legit? Well, let me know what you think in the comment section. And if today is your first time joining my channel, please kindly like, share and subscribe.